Hello everyone, factoring into today's video, we're going to have a look at the JMA model for the next 3 months today. It's going to take us from May through to July, so we're going to go into the summer with this update. This will make up part of the second summer model update that we're going to do at the end of the month. It'll be the final Sunday of April, which I think is the 24th of April. We'll get around 9 or 10 long-range models together, have a look at all of them, see what the consensus is for the summer. This will make up part of that update, but there's so much information that you can get from the JMA model that we're not able to look at during those summer updates, because we've got 9 models to get through, 9 or 10 of them to get through. So we haven't really got time to go through all of the information that you can get from the JMA model. So I like to sort of isolate out the JMA and have a look at it within its own update. And that's what we're going to do today. So we're going to go from May through to July. And we're going to start off 500 millibar heights on down from the northern hemisphere. And then we'll have a look at the corresponding temperature and precipitation anomalies that go with that. So quite an interesting update coming up today. Before I get on with that, just to say about the ads that Gazweb is, there's links to articles on all the pages. Have a browse through widgets and click through the links if there's any articles that you're interested in. Thanks so much for doing that. There's also video ads for most of the pages. They open up the content. When you've watched them, they'll close back up again. It's all helping to pay for our website. So we're going to start off with the 500 millibar height anomaly from the JMA model, looking down at the northern hemisphere from the North Pole. For May, first of all, now with these charts, blue always extrapolates to low pressure, and yellow, orange, red, the more bright colours, they extrapolate to high pressure or above average heights, basically. So for May, we see we've got quite a lot of ridging up over the North Pole, which would normally be quite a bad sign, trough of low pressure in the central Atlantic. But this is extending down into a ridge that seems to be around the UK and actually stretches down through many central western parts of Europe. So the jet stream here is doing something like that. It's rather an odd looking chart, but the upshot is we're probably placed with under a ridge anomalously for May, which could be quite good actually. It could give us quite a dry, quite a settled month. And although we have got the centre of this ridge over the North Pole, I think the overall flow could actually be drawing up fairly mild air, even quite warm air, from the south or the southwest. So probably fairly dry and quite warm signals there as we're going through into the final month of the spring. That does look quite good. We get through into June, and the trough of low pressure is still penned in around Greenland and Iceland, going down to the middle part of the Atlantic, and really still hints of above average pressure around the UK, and also tying up towards Scandinavia as well. So this again looks quite good for June. It is quite a westerly flow, with the jet stream doing something like that. But overall again, I think the signals for June probably quite good there. I mean, it is westerly, so the north and west will get the most unsettled conditions, but the south and east probably doesn't get away with too bad a month. It could be a fairly pleasant and quite a warmish start to the summer. And then we go through to July. Now, this is the furthest out, so it's quite a long way away, and with fairly poor confidence, of course, when you're getting 3 months away. But what we see for July is very much a deteriorating pattern if you want dry, warm summer weather. So that ridging that we have around the country, Western Europe, for May and June, that pulls out into the central part of the Atlantic. We've also got hints of northern blocking here over the top of the North Pole. And we get placed within a trough of low pressure that extends into eastern parts of Europe. So this is sending the jet stream southwards around this trough. So for July, very much a case that the pattern goes downhill. That looks a much more unsettled and significantly cooler month as we go through into July, with the wind probably going into the north or the northwest. So a front-loaded summer in terms of warm, dry conditions looks possible here for May and June, and then a deterioration to significantly cooler and more unsettled conditions as we get through to July. We can't say whether that continues into August, because we don't have the chart for August. That'll be coming along next month. But certainly indications that after a fairly warmish and dry start to the summer, we deteriorate the pattern quite rapidly as we get through into the middle part of the summer in July. That's my interpretation. Let's see whether the temperature and precipitation anomalies back this up. So you're going to have a look at the mid-latitude and tropics view next. So what you need to know with this is that the UK is up here in the very far top right-hand corner of the chart as you're looking at it. This is the northern hemisphere just here. This is the tropical area just here. And then this is the southern hemisphere down here. We don't see the polar region, so the South Pole is somewhere there off the chart and the North Pole is somewhere up here off the chart. Of course, we're just looking at the North Pole, looking down at the Northern Hemisphere from the North Pole in the chart we're just looking at, so we don't need to see the North Pole again. But for May, we're starting off in May again. We know that for May we've got the above average heights close to the UK, so it does indicate that pressure probably being reasonably high through the month. I think it looked like a fairly mildish month, quite a warm month, and that's what models go for. Above average temperature anomalies there indicated for May. Could be really quite pleasant with the temperatures, and the precipitation coming out a bit drier than average as well. So really not too bad a month for May. That does look like a very pleasant month indeed, with drier and warmer conditions looking likely. We go through to June. We've still got above average heights close to the country, this time more centred to the southwest. We have got more of a westerly flow re-establishing in June, but the ridge should still be close enough to us to give us a reasonable month. Again, let's have a look at the temperature anomaly. That's coming out generally a little bit above average again, although perhaps not quite as much as we see for May. So despite the fact that on average temperatures in June will warm compared to May, of course it's a rapidly warming time of year, the actual anomaly is probably closer to average than the one that we see for May. But anyway, it looks fairly pleasant with the temperatures, nothing to be alarmed about. Precipitation again is coming out largely drier than average, a little bit above average for Scotland. That's just the first hints that the jet stream is coming back a bit and a westerly flow is establishing in June. So it might be transition. It might be that we start off fairly reasonably warm and dry and it goes a bit downhill through the month. But overall, again, I don't think June looks too bad. You can actually see the mean wind flow, see where the wind direction is coming from. I'm not sure you can make this out, but the black arrows here are generally coming from the west, so quite a westerly looking month. Could potentially be unsettled, but the ridge is just about strong enough to keep the worst of the unsettled conditions away to the north and west. But then we go through to July. Remember, this is the one that rapidly deteriorates. We find the ridge pulling out into the middle part of the Atlantic, and a trough of low pressure sets up almost over the top of the UK and stretching into central parts of Europe as well, which means that the jet stream gets plunged south and probably goes to the south of us. Never a good sign. And in summer, this means that we tend to come out with quite cool conditions. So the temperature anomaly in July is going cooler than average, and quite significantly so, actually. That's a strong signal for being 3 months away. Quite a cool month being signalled there for July. The temperature anomaly is cooler than average, and the precipitation anomaly is going wetter than average. So very obviously there's a big deterioration there taking place in July compared to what we see in May and June, with cooler and wetter weather coming along in the middle part of the summer. The mean wind flow, again, you probably can't make out these black arrows all that well, but it does show that the mean wind flow is going into the north or the northwest, probably because the jet stream is being pushed southwards by blocking to the north, and also a trough setting up over the UK. So overall, it looks like a fairly decent start to the summer, albeit June is a bit in between terms. That jet stream is coming back in June, but it looks like the ridge is just about strong enough to hold it off. But it could be transition, of course. It could be that you start off with a couple of weeks warm, dry weather, and then it goes a bit downhill in the second half of the month. Very difficult to say. But let's sort of keep it simple and say that the first bit of the summer and the end of spring, so May, June, looks pretty good. And then we get through to July, and that does look very, very dodgy, with the jet stream being plunged southwards. We've got northern blocking setting up over the top of the pole. We've got a trough of low pressure sitting around the UK and Central Europe. that would be a pretty grim July if it came off. The good news with that is that it is 3 months away, so it's the most unreliable part of this update. And we're just going to have to wait and see whether the other long-range models that we're going to look at on the 24th of the month, so 24th of April, is when we'll do the actual second summer update. We'll get around 9 or 10 of these long-range models together, and we'll just see whether the consensus throughout all of those models is this sort of idea, but we have a reasonable start to the summer, and then we send things downhill as we get through into July. Remember, we haven't seen August charts with this yet either, so that's the other caveat. We don't know how the summer is predicted to finish up with the JMA. All very speculative. Hope you enjoyed the update. That's all for now, and thanks for watching.